Scrappin with Sheri. Today is going to be a sketch challenge from start to finish. And I'm using a Noreen Smith sketch challenge from one of her Wednesday night videos. And this particular challenge is called Snap and Scrap. And she challenged us to get 10 pictures onto a 2-page spread, which is perfect for those of you who are like me. I've heard from lots of you who say, I like to get lots of pictures on a page. I'm not necessarily about tons of decoration. I just really like to get my pictures on a page. So this sketch is perfect for us. And I'm excited to be doing this with you today so you can actually see how my thought processes work. Of course, I think my brain works really weird, so my thought processes may not mirror yours at all. But the first thing I did when I looked at the sketch challenge was, okay, what do I have 10 pictures of where it's one event where I have pictures I could actually cut down? And I found these pictures. My little granddaughter visited with us a couple of weeks ago for a couple of days, and she and her Pat were playing with her Duplo blocks, her big Lego things. So I decided that this would be a good opportunity. Now, if you notice, she's not in the same clothes. So these are different days, but I like the fact that the theme was the same. She's playing with her little blocks. So that's why I pulled those. Now, I had one piece of this building blocks paper left. And again, the colors are not exactly the same, but it gives you the feel of what's going on in the picture. So I pulled this one sheet of building blocks paper I have left. I pulled this blue shimmer cardstock. I say cardstock, but it's the lighter weight cardstock because I love the way it matched the blues in here. And there are lots of blue blocks in the pictures. And then I didn't have a good background, but I found this in the Birthday Bonanza paper. For me, I'm not wild about this background, but I do like this green. So if you look at this, the greens are not exactly the same color, but they are the same tint, the same shade. And I liked it that this one's just a little bit lighter, so the blocks really pop. So let's look at the sketch and see where we need to start. Now for me, when I was looking at it, there's paper across here. That's a 5 by 12. There are 2 sheets here that are 6 by 6. And when I'm looking at them, I'm thinking, okay, not a lot of this 5 by 12 is going to show, but I think I want to make my 5 by 12 and my border across the top the same color. So I'm going to go with my blue for that part. And then I'm going to do my 6 by 6 pieces out of the building blocks collection. So let me go ahead and cut my 2 6 by 6s because how easy is that? And I'm just going to pull the arm out of my trimmer. I'm lining my paper up at 6 inches. And I'm just going to cut one. And then I'm going to flip it sideways and cut it at 6. And that gives me 2 6-inch blocks for that part of it. And I also still have half a sheet of this building blocks paper left for the next time she comes to visit. Now, because I want my 5 by 12s along the bottom and my border to be out of this blue, and you can see my paper's got a little wrinkle in there. Some people get real stressed about wrinkles in their paper. I don't, because you're going to cover it up or you're going to tape it down. It's going to be fine. But for me, because Shiloh and Pat were building houses and buildings, I pulled the little, I can't remember the name, Home Sweet Home Border Maker cartridge. It's got the little houses on it, and it's got the cute little hearts. And I'm going to do 2 borders to go across the top of both of those pages. And right now, I'm just going to punch those straight on this paper, and that'll be easy enough to get my garbage off. Now, if you have not used the Border Maker system, it is so quick, so easy to use, and there's a whole video about that. And I'm going to have to cut this off, but right now, I'm just going to flip my paper to the other side and do my other border. Because if you've watched me very often, you know that I like to do, oh, I got a piece caught in there. I like to do whatever tools I can all at one time and then put those away to use the next tools. And by doing the border on both sides of this paper, I'm going to cut it off anyway. And then my border maker system is finished. So, border maker system is done. So to line this up to cut it, what I'm going to do is put the edge of this straight border on the second line. And that's going to give me just a really thin border, which is what I want. I don't want something that's going to be big and bulky there. But I did like it as the little houses, since that's what she and Pat Pat were building. All right, so we've got the 2 borders done, but we also need 2 5x12 pieces to go across the bottom of this. And let me look. I'm almost exactly at 10 inches. I'm going to cut just a touch off of that. Yeah, very small area there. And I'm going to make that 5x5. So by punching the borders first, it left us with the size we needed to cut down for the rest of it. Now let me pull my papers back in. The greens are my background. These are my borders. I'm going to slide those to the side just for a second. And let's look at the sketch again. We've got just a little bit of space at the bottom where our background papers are showing through. So we line those 2 up. And then these 6x6s are pretty much centered on the page. And they show those going all the way to the top. So I'll need to put those on first to make sure I get those all the way to the top. And here's how I would do this to make sure I've got mine lined up in the same place. I'd turn them side to side like this. I'm going to stick these on with just regular tape runner. And I mean, does it matter if it's exactly centered? No. Does it matter if they're exactly the same? No. But this is how I would do that if I were really picky about getting those in the same spot on the pages. And, you know, I'm not guaranteeing they're centered side to side, but they are going to be in the same spot on each page. There we go. Let's turn that back around. Now, remember, sketches are a jumping off place. They are not the be-all, end-all. But I did feel like with this particular sketch, and the challenge is to get 10 pictures on a page, I thought, well, it's an easy thing for me to copy right now. I'm not feeling real creative. So pick up a sketch and copy it. It gets your creativity flowing so that you can create something of your own later. But there's no harm in using sketches. And there's no harm in changing up the sketch a little bit if it doesn't suit your needs. For this particular one, I just felt like it would suit the needs I have for the pictures I have. And when I do a sketch, you know, I'm not necessarily all worried about my pictures right now. I wanted my papers to fit the theme of my pictures, and that's why I chose the building blocks paper. But I'm not worried about, oh, what if I don't have room for this picture on this just yet? Now let's look at this going across there and make sure it's going to show up nicely. That's not too bad. What do you think? Sometimes, especially with a busy paper right here, you may want to add something a little different to the background. And I'm wondering about a piece of white behind that. So, again, you know, it's paper. We'll try it and see. I'm going to cut this at a 1 inch just to see how I like it. If I don't, it's easy to take it off. Oh, now look how cute that is. That really makes that pop. And with what I have in mind for the pictures, I think this is going to work well. So I am going to put the white behind that. And that's going to involve my repositionable tape. So I'm just going to pull that up here. Put tape on my little houses. You don't have to make sure every little tiny millimeter of every house is covered, because once you put this on a page and you add a page protector, they're not going anywhere. I see people that spend a lot of time getting their tape on and covering every single little part of it, and it's not really necessary. You just want it to stay in place. You don't need it to hold through a natural disaster necessarily. All right, let's do a little bit of tape on this one. Now you can see I didn't butt these up against each other to make sure that I've got them exactly even, and I probably should. Some of you would. Some of you would measure every part of this. Y'all know me, I'm an eyeballer. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I also have a little glitch in my border maker right there where I undoubtedly didn't get it pushed in real well when I was going down through there. There again, that's not a big deal to me. So I'm liking this. I like the look of it, but I started thinking, what if I wanted to back this border with some red and maybe add some cute little red hearts into those houses? How pretty would that be? And it'll just create more of a fun feel with the bright colors, and popping those little hearts in there will just pick up the feel of how much she loves her Pat Pat. So I am cutting this out of the Firecracker Shimmer at 1 1/4. That's because my white strip was a 1 inch. So I'm just doing a little bit of border behind that. We've got those at 1 1/4. I like the look that adds. It picks up more of the reds. And then I'm just going to go through and stick my border punch in here, my cartridge, and just pop, 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 and see if I can get me some hearts out of this. Now, because I'm not sliding it right, I'm probably going to have lots of half hearts and not full hearts, but let's see what we got out of that. Okay, so I've got a little red heart right here. It's hard to see, but I'm going to use my repositionable tape instead of my regular. I'm also going to use my little lifter stick that came from Creative Memories, because those little hearts are hard to get in just the right spot. And my lifter stick helps me put it exactly where it needs to be and punch it down. Now that's cute to me. It just adds a little bit without being too much. Now if you don't have the lifter stick, you need to contact your advisor. I'll be giving these out at my Croptoberfest event in a couple of weeks. So the lifter sticks just help you to move these little bitty pieces kind of in the right place. You know, I'm still having to finagle it a little bit, but it's a lot easier than trying to just put it down with my fingernail. So let's see what other hearts I have here that I didn't chop to pieces as I was cutting through there. And let's get them in those little houses too. And you see, it's still not a real easy process because these are so tiny. And if you have any kind of problems with your hands, tweezers sometimes work for this. Or you may just want to forego this. You don't have to put these little hearts in there. I just wanted another little dash of color. So I'll get one finished, and then we'll go ahead and tape everything down and see what we're looking like. And I'll go back and finish the other one later. All right, so we've got all the little red hearts in. I'm going to use my regular tape and adhere that to that red background piece. And you can see my red shimmer is all wadded up. It was in a scrap bag, and you know, I keep it organized, but those shimmers just tend to crinkle more than other papers to me because they're a little bit thinner weight. Once I put all of the embellishments and things on it, you can't tell it, so that doesn't really bother me. I use crinkled paper a lot, and I bet you've never noticed it in my books. All right, so look, this page is done. I'm going to go ahead and stick this down just so I have my spacing, but I will go back and add the little hearts into the houses. And I was trying to think about a title for this, and nothing was really coming to me, but something that just popped into my head was Building Memories, because that's what they're doing, and you'll see why in the pictures in just a second. So I think probably I'll end up cutting a title using my silhouette machine and adding that onto this page as well. All right, so we've got our two pages put together, and now it's time to start looking at our pictures. So back to the sketch. When I looked at the sketch, we've got a 6x4, a 4x6, and then 3 3x4s. So I did cut my pictures very closely to that. Now this one is not a full 4x6 because there was too much sky on the top, so I did cut it down some. And you notice the pictures overlap this blue at the bottom, go up and down. And I was able to cut these pictures down into the 3x4. Now you can tell because of her clothing that these were 2 different days. So I think I'm going to move this one to the middle because these two she's got on the same little outfit. This one is a different one. And I just like the look of that different one being in the middle rather than those two being together. Now in the sketch, these two on the side are lined up, and I will probably do that. But then we're going to do title probably right here. So I want to go ahead and get these pictures on just to show you how I would do those. And one thing that I was looking at with these is these 3 along here, they don't have them matted in the original, in the original sketch, none of these are matted. I like to mat my pictures, especially with a busy background. And that's where this white comes back into place. So these are 3x4. I'm going to cut my matting paper at 4 1/4. I don't like real wide mats, real bold mats. But I've got this piece of paper cut, and I'm going to add these 3 on the same mat. And I know if you've watched me, you've seen me do this multiple times because I like the look of cohesiveness when you mat several smaller pictures together. That is strictly a me. It's also a big time saver because you don't have to cut all the individual mats. So for me, I love it. It may not be your style, and that's fine. And you could choose not to mat your pictures at all. But I feel like there is never a time when matting makes your pictures look worse. And in fact, in most cases, it makes your pictures stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to cut that off just a little bit. And those are matted. And then I'm going to mat these 2. And I could cut this down a little bit. I'm trying to use my scraps. Y'all know how I am about scraps. So I'm going to cut this picture down just a hair on each side. Just so it will fit what I'm going to use to mat right here. And I won't have to go to another sheet of paper to mat these. So, thin mat. And yes, I'm an eyeballer. Typically, I do stick my picture down before cutting. There's no right or wrong way to mat. If it frustrates you to stick your picture down first, then you have to do the math and figure out what size mat you want. Y'all know that I'm not a measurer exacto person. So for me, it's easier to stick my mat down. My picture onto my matting paper and cut around it. All right, so we've got all of those matted. And I have my picture for my other page pulled out, but let me go ahead and stick these down and just see where we are, how this looks. And I'm just going to go down just a touch here. I think I am going to leave a little space here. I'm not sure how much journaling I'll do at this point. I probably need to tell that Pat kept building these nice big towers because he's an engineer and he likes to do that. And Shiloh kept knocking those towers down. You can see on the back, this is actually my cover sheet for that paper pack because right now I only have half a sheet of that paper left. So I have filed it in my multicolors, or I will file it in my multicolors to use on another page, or I'll file it in my kids category. So the next time she's here building with her blocks and I take tons of pictures, I'll know where to go for that paper. All right, so that side is done. Let's go ahead and pull the pictures to go on this side. Now on this side, we've got a 6x4, a 4x4, a 4x6. So we've kept 3 pretty large ones, and then 2 4x3s. And I did go ahead and cut and play with these a little bit too. So I'm looking at these 2 for here. And then I've got this one that is my 4x6 to go there. And you'll see from the sketch, if you look at it closely, if I'm trying to copy the sketch exactly, because I cut this one down a little bit and it doesn't go as high, my photo alignment is not going to match up, and I'm going to work on that in just a second. I also kept this one a little bit bigger than a 4x3, which is probably going to throw everything into disarray, but I can always adjust that. They've got these two 4x3 stacked, and because I needed to keep a little bit more of this one, I didn't want to cut off heads, I didn't want to cut off her feet because she was in the process of shoving that over with her feet. So in order to still get 10 pictures on my page, I'm going to have to do a little bit of finagling here, and that's not a problem. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is mat these two because I know that those are sized like I want them. And I know that they're 4 inches tall. So again, I'm going to go with a 4 1/4 cut. And then I'm going to go ahead and stick these pictures on there and then slice them right down. 4 1/4 is just plenty of mat to me. It's just enough to make it stand out without taking up lots of space on your page. Now, I think these two I will probably mat together on this particular layout because I did some switching up on the bottom. So let's use our personal trimmer. We're going to cut this down. And then I want these lined up with the same height that this one has over here. And I'm going to go ahead and stick that down. Now, for some of you not knowing exactly where everything is going to go, that would probably bother you. But for me, I know that I want the height the same across the 2 pages. I just want the continuity across there of those lines. And you can tell my blues don't exactly match up here. I'm a little bit off. That doesn't particularly bother me because when they're in my album, they're going to be separated by those staples in the middle by about that much. And nobody who's looking at it is going to notice that. So we've got our 4x6, but again, I need it to be a little smaller to fit in that area. So I'm going to cut a little top off, a little bottom off. And we've still kept the integrity of the picture, but now it's going to fit our space a little bit better. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is mat these two particularly, and then we're going to play with this one. Now I've got this edge right here. Oh yeah, perfect. Don't you love it when a little scrap just works for your pictures? And then I need one more little piece for this. I know that that's a 4 inch wide, so I'm going to go 4 1/4 again. We'll mat this, and we're almost through with this page, y'all. With 10 photos on a page, that makes me really happy. The thing that'll take me the longest is going back and making my title block, but here we are. We've matched up tops here. I want the sides to match here, but I'm also looking at matching this bottom width right here. So we're going to go ahead and tape that down. I'm matching up side here. I'm trying to get about the same bottom size. That looks just a little crooked to me, but it's either my matting or my cutting. You know, something's a little off, but I can deal with it. Now, what I'm going to do, I think, is slide this one in here. And I don't necessarily need all the background here because I can't stack. The easiest place to get that last one in is over here. So I'm just going to cut a little of that background off of that. I don't necessarily need to cut here because I'm going to slide it under anyway. And I'm just going to use this little scrap right here. I know y'all have seen me weld before, but I'm going to weld these 2 scraps of white together just to make it large enough. It's a little too small the other way. And then I'll just cut it down as I normally would a full sheet of paper. All right. So we're left with a few little scraps of that white, but everything white we have left will work for bigger pieces later on. I'm going to put a little tape here, a little tape on this, and then let's line this up. And we're going to line this up the same top to bottom. I'm looking at my spacing here to kind of get it the same. And I'm not sticking that corner down because I'm going to slide this picture right underneath it. So all I have left to add are a few embellishments, if I can come up with anything. I mean, we don't always have to have embellishments, but something here would be really pretty, maybe in some red to bring down a little bit more red here. I could do my building memories really small right here, and I may look at that. I do want to do just a little bit of journaling, and this might be a good area to do that. So I'll finish this page out, and you'll see it either before or after, or both, on the video. I hope you like this idea, and I hope you'll give this sketch a try. This sketch is posted on the Creative Memories virtual crop group, and it was done by Noreen Smith, and it's a great way to use 10 pictures on a page. You are probably going to see this sketch again on some of my vacation pages where I have lots of pictures to use. So stay tuned and try this sketch. Give it a shot. Post it on the Creative Memories virtual crop page at #SnapAndScrap so other people can see what you've chosen to do too. Until next time, happy scrapping.